I grew up in a two-parent household. I think the people in my house did the best they could with the understanding that they had. Father is from Detroit, mom is from Virginia. The household that I grew up in did not start off as a broken one, but eventually dealing with the trials and tribulations that that young adults deal with, it, that home became broken, and it was broken because of the drug epidemic that kind of arose in the 80s, and so we felt the rapture of that pretty strongly. Well, Dad, for the most part, tried to conceal whatever activities that he had going on, and I never saw him personally interact, but I could see the effects of those actions, because I do know at one particular time he was a distributor of narcotics, and I think that in the later years he began to consume those same narcotics, and so we went from having too much to not having enough, to him paying full attention to him paying no attention at all. And again, I'm not blaming him for anything that took place. He was just, doing the best that he could with what he had, if that makes sense. The worst memory, I don't know. I don't think I have a worse memory. Like there was no, bloodshed in my household. There was no horrific story. I think that as an adult now, I think about some of the many misunderstandings that I had as an individual. I think that, when I think about childhood and I think about parenthood, my parents told me about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy, and none of these people are real. But these are the same people that tried to tell me about Jesus. And so, that's horrible, because I believe you. And then so when you start telling me about Jesus, I'm looking at you sideways, like, you're like the Santa Claus, right? So, I think that in my household, sports was really big. And as an adult, to me, sports they're not that important. I don't think we should have so much focus on sports and extracurricular activities that involve physical interaction. There are a lot of mental interactions that we could stress that will put us in a better place, if that makes sense. What was different about my family in comparison to other families? I think in order to give an effective answer on that, I would have to have been in those households. I can tell you what my neighborhood or my community was exposed to on a mass level and how it affected us. I think that a poor education system, certain laws that applied to, minorities at that particular time. And I think just basically a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of gifted lies. And I think as a community, we kind of based our lives off of those lies. And so when you base your interaction or your participation in life off of lies, then you're going to move awkwardly throughout life. And I think that, in the Black community, I don't think that there's a misunderstanding as to what tools can be used to move forward in life. I think that we're accustomed to using the pliers and the hammer, and that's all we're exposed to in our immediate circle. So we think that, this is it, not really understanding that there's a C-clamp, there's, it's a gang of other tools. And once you begin to use those other tools, then you begin to really understand what the world is within itself. But if you're stuck with, okay, I'm either gonna sell drugs or I'm gonna rob, it's gonna be very short lifespan, very short career, period. High school football, basketball, baseball, debate club, chess club. But I was poor. And I remember one time, like back in the day, we used to have shoe polish. We used to utilize shoe polish. And so I had these Reebok Classics, and I used to clean them up every day. And I remember one day I cleaned my shoestrings up, I cleaned the shoes up, I put the shoe polish on, but then it rained right before school started. So when I walked down the hallway, I left like a white track going all the way down the hall. And so by the time I got to my class, the shoes weren't white anymore. They were like off-white, you know what I mean? But the attention that I got for having, the discolored shoes, I was like, I don't want this attention. I want, cool shoes. I want new shoes. So I tried to get a job, and my mom would not allow me to get a job and go to school at the same time. So I got shoes by way of locker research, for lack of a better term. And so with this locker research, I began to obtain articles that were not mine, but I I enjoyed those perks. So I began to steal. Yeah, in short, I began to steal because I didn't. And you know what? It's not that I had to steal. Stealing or doing something that was mischievous was almost cool. You almost got points for it. And then once it became that, I'm the smartest person in here, that's when everything became dangerous. Because if you're talking to somebody and they got all the sense in the world, it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. I stopped going in 12th grade. I had a child on the way, stopped going to school, and I started off breaking smaller laws, like breaking in lockers, breaking in cars. And then as I got away with those smaller misdemeanor crimes, it just kind of escalated. So I grew, kind of like you transition from college to the pros. I kind of did that in a criminal atmosphere. So I began to take things more aggressively with firearms. I found that there was a false sense of power given to a young teen with a firearm that, was desirable. I could control the entire room with this firearm. And then also I could make what you're gonna make this month in a matter of moments. And when you take an individual who has had holy shoes and didn't always have the clothes that he wanted, and now I can just go get whatever I want, however I want, then again, you have a ticking time bomb, but you have somebody who assumes that he's got it figured out. And when you have somebody, again, basing your livelihood off a altered or dysfunctional way of life, it's just a matter of time before you conflict with society as that form of society that has a tad bit of integrity. You're going to conflict with it, and they have a place for you. The first time I got in trouble with the law was actually, my uncle has a roofing company called Brown's Roofing Service. And this was around about the time the Olympics were here, like in 96, 95, 96. And I simply, I did not have my driver's license was suspended. And there was a roadblock, but I convinced myself that it was okay to drive through this roadblock without a license. And that's the first night I ever spent in jail. I cried like a baby. After that, my run-ins with the law, there was only one more run-in. And that run-in was I attempted to rob an entity that had both security and security with firearms. And to say the least, I had gotten away with robbing people and robbing entities for a long period of time where it was like nothing. I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'll be back at the club later on. It's cool, do it again tomorrow, go shopping, do it again, go buy another car. I tried to rob a grocery store, and it just so happened that the police pulled up while I was in the midst of the robbery. Nobody had called him. He wasn't looking for anybody. He had stopped for a pack of cigarettes. And he pulled up while we were in the store. And that was my second and last run-in with the police. I was in Judge Hancock's courtroom, and that sentence was 10 years to serve. And my first thought was, why is the air so thin? And why are my knees buckling? And then my mom was standing with me, and I remember she put her fist in my back. She didn't punch me, she was just, because I was shaking. I was like, 10 years is a long time. And at the age of 19, I was like, man, I got a daughter. She's only a couple of weeks old. She's gonna be 9 when I come home. And it just kind of just hit me at the same time. And she was just like, you know what, don't cry. She was like, you put yourself in this situation. And I initially I was going to trial because although they had caught me on the scene of the crime, in my mind, I had convinced myself that I was not guilty because they didn't have certain elements in the crime. But then I think that I began to mature slowly but surely. I stopped depending on other individuals to bail me out. And I said to myself, you know what? I've committed a crime. I've wronged society. So when you wrong society, you have to pay a debt. That's the way order is. If people walk around and just do what they want to all the time, then where is the peace? There is no peace within chaos. So I was at 19, I'm trying to come to means with that. When I was given 10 years, I just, I took it like a man. I didn't cry in front of anybody else, but when I got back to the cell, I still didn't cry in front of my fellow cellmates. But when I got in the shower, because in the shower I can explain why there's water running off my face or whatnot, but you don't want to show any kind of weakness. But it was a 10-year sentence from I was 19 and I got out when I was 29. I mean, like in the shower, it's just basically if I'm going to be emotional, and you have certain environments in which you do not want to become one with your emotions, because if you show that you have emotions or that you operate off of any form of logic, then you put yourself in a victim's position. You will be victimized. If on Christmas, if you feel like you got the Christmas cheer, you better hide it. That's just what I learned. I didn't know any jokes, so I didn't tell no jokes. If I'm happy on the inside, you know what? You won't know it. If I'm sad, you won't know it. I just wouldn't show it, because once you show it again, you put up a big billboard and you're about to make yourself a victim. The first 5 years that I was incarcerated, I learned that I was as ignorant as I could be, because in my mind I said to myself, you know what? When I come home, I'm gonna rob this person, I'm gonna rob this, and in a couple of weeks I'm gonna be back on top. That was my mindset. And it wasn't until I started interacting with, there was a lady at Alto by the name of Susan Slayer. Susan Slayer, she exposed us to the book club, the debate club. We did debate with UGA. And when the debate came from UGA, I began to look at life a tad bit differently. Because they initially had us to pick out a box, and we would pick if we were going to be on the affirmative or the negative, and we would for the most part pick topics that we were familiar with, or that we agreed with or strongly disagreed with. And I could win all the ones that I agreed with. But then they came right back and told me, well, you did the affirmative on this, let's do the negative. Okay, so what that did was that caused me to question not just the information that I was exposed to, but it caused me to question my own beliefs. So the misguidedness that I had to question that as well. The blaming dad, I had to question everything that I did. Now I can have a conversation with an individual, and Dr. Panetta always taught me, always come up with 3 points why that's not true. So even if you're telling me the truth, in my mind, I am documenting 3 points why it's not true. Once I began to question certain things, and I began to see the delivery of speeches that conflicted with each other by the same individual, truth, my definition of truth changed. And I assumed that truth was basically based on the individual explaining their position. And when that came to be true in my life, then you know what? I'm bigger than this. I can be whatever I want to be as long as I can define it and I can support it with certain facts, structures, and arguments. And so that's how I convince myself to do certain things today. If you say I can't, you know what? I have 3 reasons why. And I'm gonna run down these reasons, but I'm not gonna only run them down. I'm gonna live by them. And so whatever it is that I decide to do now, I'm gonna do it. I do remember when I turned 21. When I turned 21, my hairline was like back here. I've been going bald since I was 21. I was like, man, I'm like all my friends, they're in college, like doing certain things. Most of my friends are like either school teachers or counselors, or they're doing something, they're giving back. And I'm sitting here on the 7th floor going bald. I'm turning 21, and I'm not even about to go home anytime soon. Like I'm still gonna be here. Another day that really scared me was 9/11 scared me. 9/11 scared me, not because I'm as patriotic as the next man, but because there was a sense of hopelessness. And even though I was in a system that I didn't believe in, I believed that if you do wrong, you should be punished for that wrong. And I couldn't understand why that was taking place to innocent people. And I said to myself, if this can happen to innocent people, man, what's gonna happen with all these murderers and killers? Like, we're next, believe that. And I embraced that for a couple of days, and then I just, it faded out. But those were the 2 worst days that I can remember. I'll tell you about my friends that I hung with. You know what? My friends at one particular time were my leaders to a degree. They, not because they were smarter than me, because they obtained more than me. Their parents had careers as opposed to having jobs. And so They used to actually let me wear their clothes if they fit my shoe. I was kind of taller than everybody else, so it's kind of hard if you were a 12 and you're trying to slide off into a 9.5, maybe a 10. But they were my leaders because of what they possessed, and I think my hunger or my lack of possessions encouraged me to start thinking outside of the box. Okay, nobody's giving it to me, so let me figure out how to get it. So within strategic problem solving, for lack of a better term, I began to orchestrate ways in which I could make extra money without clocking in. I stole, I robbed, and once my funds began to surpass theirs and their parents, then I became the leader. But I was a leader for a different reason. I was a leader because I was operating out of hunger and a lack of understanding. And when you take that combination, when you take that aggressiveness and you don't if you don't transition it into a effective lifestyle, what you're gonna have is somebody who is very successful for a short period of time in a field or in a lifestyle that is not upstanding. Some of the things I've run into is that I had a girl tell me that if you've done like 5 years or more, then you're a situational homosexual. And I was like, well, I'm not really sure what a situational homosexual is. I said, I'm not attracted to men. I said, if I was, I would be with one. I don't know what kind of situation that is, but you have to. It's not like I come out and I run and I say, I'm not a homosexual, I'm not a homosexual. I just say, you know what? You have a lot of perceptions of certain things in life. And I'm not trying to change your perception. The only thing I can do is I can be me and I can be comfortable with who I am, and then maybe you'll see the light. Even today, I have people who I interact with that have no idea that I've ever been to prison. But then I know people that have seen me in prison and they still think that I'm gonna sell them some reefer, or they're gonna think that we're gonna steal something together. I'm like, no, it's actually not going down like that. And I don't try to challenge your perception. My goal is to continue to be me. I'm not gonna watch you and I'm not gonna pay attention to what you're doing. The light is on me, so I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. And then, hopefully you'll be effective in a positive way. What I had to do mentally to cope was, first I had to take responsibility for, what situation I had gotten myself into. I also had to take responsibility as to where I was at and where I wanted to go as an individual. And I think that a lot of times we spend a lot of time blaming other people. And when you blame other people, then that means that you look for them to make a positive change. And you can wait and you can vote and you can pray. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with praying or voting, but when I take responsibility for myself, then guess what? I'm responsible for the positiveness as well. So if I say, you know what, I'm fat, I'm slouchy, must be Jesus' fault because he made me like this. Or I can say, you know what, maybe I'm fat because I ate 400 buns last night and I'm drinking 2 sodas today. So let's, cut down on this. Once I became responsible for what was going on with me, or I realized that, I'm in charge, I'm in control, then I began to take progressive steps towards being the most that I could be. I want to say that my best day in prison was the day that I came home. That was a very happy day. But you know what? I have to give credit to, again, Susan Schlayer, who was an old Jewish lady who she believed in a group of us. And what she did was she allowed us to participate in, again, the debate club, but also the book club. And with that book club, I was able to read some American classics, Catch-22, Ayn Rand, Zora Neale Hurston, Maya Angelou. And upon reading these books, we began to have an open discussion about the plot. Some of the self-help books, we just had an open conversation. And it was through these conversations, it was through me learning that, the world is not just about a little black boy from Decatur. Man, the world is a whole lot bigger than what you got going on. You see what I'm saying? But if you stay in this box, you are going to be very miserable. That's what ignorance calls frustration. That frustration, it musters up into something else. But when you can take an individual and you can start exposing him to information, it's like, okay, I've been seeing this sky be blue for so long, but now I understand why the sky is blue. Now I want to know, why is the grass green? Why is this going on? And then when I began to understand why these things are going on, I started to understand a lot more about myself. Because I seen individuals do time, go home, they played basketball the whole time they were there, and did push-ups, and then I saw you didn't stay home 3 months. You came back. Georgia has the highest percentage they have one of the highest percentages of recidivism. And recidivism is the rate at which individuals come back. And I said to myself, "Why? I thought you went to the hole." He was like, "No, man, I went home." He came home, he had new tattoos, and he had a mouth full of gold teeth. And I was like, "Man, you went to the hole and got gold teeth?" He was like, "No, I went home." I said, "You back?" Because in my mind, I always thought that once I get out of this place, I'm never coming back. Why would you come back? You already know what's here. And then that's when I began to realize that if you don't fix yourself, if you're habilitated when you go in, assuming that, and you don't rehabilitate yourself, then you have done nothing. If you lock me up at 19 and you keep me for 15, 20 years, I'm still the same I was when you locked me up. So you have to fix that situation. You have certain high risk factors that need to be addressed. If you do not address them, they do not go away by themselves. You can't age out. You can't age out, but for the most part, you have to address those issues effectively, because if you don't, you contribute to you coming back to the prison system. So to answer the question, I think that there were a number of important days, but if I can sum up into one day, it would be the day that she allowed me to free myself by way of education, by way of exposure to information. The day I was released was, it was an eventful one. You would have thought that I had brakes on the passenger side, because I hadn't been around car. I hadn't been in the car in like over a decade. So mind you that cars are going this way, they're coming this way, and I'm trying to stop every time. Like, I do remember this is the brake. I just didn't have it over here. When I went to the restroom, they thought it was funny. I didn't think it was funny, because in all restrooms, you don't have to turn the knob. On some of them, you can just wave your hand. So I was in the bathroom, and I said, I know these people think that I'm institutionalized. I just did 10 years. I say, but if I go back wearing Red Lobster, if I go out here and I ask them how to wash my hands, it's gonna make me seem really silly. So I say, I'm gonna figure it out. So I'm looking for the knob. I went up under the sink, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, I cannot. Then he had to be no more than like 8, 9 years old. He came in, he washed his hands. I said, I got it. And then I walked up and I did it, and I was like, it still didn't come on. And then I seen the sensor up under there. I said, okay, I got it. But I was in there like 15, 20 minutes. And Mom was like, okay, so what did you do in the bathroom? I was washing my hands. And that was the first day I came home. But you know what? I was full of hope, and I still am. And that first day, I just saw the world. I began to see, because it's one thing to read about, to study, to think about, or to just dream about, in a sense. But it's another thing to really interact, because a lot of times we have dreams, but you don't know if those dreams are going to be true until you actually hit the ground. I am Dainhen Butler. I am a case manager for at-risk teens. I am a certified anger management specialist. I am a case manager for ex-offenders. I am a small business owner. I'm a father of 2 beautiful daughters. You know what? My dream in prison was to be a writer. It was to be a father to my child, to be a business owner, to be a asset to my community. And today I'm on my 2nd book. I just had my 2nd daughter. I'm with my children every day. I find worth in helping individuals not go down that path. I just left elementary school doing, reading books with, kids that I don't know. This is something I do on the regular. I'm at a place where I'm employed to assist at-risk teens. I'm a certified anger management specialist. The jobs that I have, I would do it for free, and you pay me, and the checks don't bounce. So it's awesome. I'm winning, good times. And I'm a business owner. Like, I own a moonwalk service. So on the weekends, I make more money, and we starting to, this is my 5th year. And in 2009, I went back to school for marketing. And I didn't know they was gonna give me, they gave me a financial aid check. It was like $4,500. So I said, okay, I can go buy a bunch of clothes. Or what they taught me in school was to, identify a need, try to address that need. So I bought 2 inflatable tents. Those tents paid for 2 more. By the end of the semester, I had purchased 2 ice cream trucks. Now I'm up to 18 moonwalks. I'm at a point now where I'm going to have to purchase 2 trucks so I can have people deliver. Because what I'm learning now is that because I'm a business owner, it's not about being hands-on. I can get more done than what I can do. So right now in this field, I'm trying to build relationships. So when I say I want to have a book drive, or we want to feed the hungry, I can make a call and I can have a number of people coming out. So I have to establish those relationships. They have to see how sincere I am about what it is that I'm doing. So when I call you, you come. But also within that, I would like to see my moonwalk company just like really take off. But I'm not complaining. If I stay where I'm at right now, I'm winning. I can pay my bills with just what I make with my moonwalk service. So this is a plus. I am everything that I set out to be. But I think that within that transition, I've been given an assignment, meaning that I don't know what God is going to have me do next. Because I didn't think that they actually paid me to go into the prison system to talk to individuals. And I was like, I did this for free for 10 years. You're going to give me a check? It's like, awesome. This is really cool. But it's not a situation where I don't operate with integrity, because I know that I'm being watched. I know that, if I mess this up, I don't just mess this up for me. I mess this up for everybody that's ever gotten out and tried to do something that was gonna help people. So it's kind of like years ago, Sister Martha, she got bit by the dog, she got hit by the water hose, she got thrown in the back of the car. She didn't know me, but she did this so that I would have a chance. So who am I to disregard her life and mess it up? No, I'm just a link in this chain. So if I do my part, then maybe somebody else will have another chance. And I think that if I can just continue to put goodness in the world and still get paid for it, I'm winning. Butler before prison was not all bad. At one point in time, I wanted to be an attorney and a police officer. But that's when, the Cosby Show was coming on every Thursday night in different worlds. Like now we got no disrespect to any of the rappers, but they're everywhere. And so to answer the question, I was at one point in time as pure as they came. I played sports. I had good grades. It wasn't as if I went to school and did not enjoy it. I enjoyed school. As a teen, I came to a point where I needed some type of guidance, whether it was just a man saying that I understand what you're going through, or a group of people, or somebody just addressing me and my inner thoughts to a degree. That did not happen. And so I came up with my own explanation. I came up with my own understanding, and that led me to a different place. Now I'm interacting with little me's to a degree. And so we had an individual, a guy came in the other day, he had on a red rag, but he told one of the other case managers that his neck was cold. Let me talk to you, because I've had a cold neck before. Come on over here. Got a neck warm over here for you. Take the rag off, man. We're not gonna do that. This is not the place for it. And now you've given me an opportunity to get deeper off into what you got going on. So the difference between then and now is that I'm fully bald now, but I have a mission now. Their mission is to put goodness in the world by all aspects, whether it's feeding the hungry. It's not a race thing. It's if I can get a group of guys together and we can come paint a graffiti wall white, we've put some goodness in the world. If I can help a lady across, I was on the phone with a female and I was like, I'm about to help this old lady across the street. She blocked me because she thought I was joking. No, I'm seriously about to help this lady across the street. I don't know her, but you know what? It's the right thing to do. And I get pleasure out of doing good. That's the only reason I do good. If I got pleasure out of doing bad stuff, guess what? We wouldn't be having this interview. I get pleasure out of putting goodness in the world. I think that as far as progress was concerned, I think my biggest hindrance was my perception of how others perceived me. I went to a job interview, won't say the name of the entity, but I went to the job interview and they asked me, have I ever been convicted of a crime? They actually gave me a math test, but I used to help people get their GEDs in prison. So, I'm gonna shoot through the math test. It's not a big deal. But then they asked, have you ever been convicted of a felony in the last 5 years? Me not really thinking about it, I got convicted 10 years ago. So this question doesn't even apply to me. But I'm like, you know what? I got my old church shoes on. I got my old church shirt from when I was 19. I'm just gonna be totally honest. So that honesty took up about a page and a half, unnecessarily. And so I was politely escorted off the premises because I went in detail as to, why I was a convicted felon, but why you should still hire me. Anyway, when I used to walk around, I used to think that people knew, that they knew that I was locked up. That guy's been locked up. When in fact, you have no idea. You have no idea at all. I also learned that a lot of times, even when you get a job, that job within itself is not going to suffice. Because a lot of us as American citizens, what we do, we have a place to live. This job that we have, it pays for us to live here. Now we have a little money, and with that money, we get a vehicle. That vehicle gets us to work, to home. We have enough money to pay for that vehicle. We have enough money to pay for that home. The minute we stop going to work, then that vehicle and that home is compromised. That's slavery. You can call it whatever you want to, but that's slavery. If I stop working, I lose everything that I have. That's slavery. Defense is just a tad bit further. You can't really see it. So I said, you know what? I don't want to be a slave. So in that aspect, I said, how do you stop being a slave? How do you stop being a victim of the work cycle? Get an education. Go to school. Educate yourself. Find out who's making more money and copycat. It's just that simple. If you're making more money than me, then when you come in the room, guess what? I stop talking. I'm trying to get whatever it is that you got, however it is you walk, however it is you tie your shoe. Guess what? I'm doing it. I'm mimicking it, and I'm gonna pretend to somebody say, you know what? Well, he has the look, and that's what I've learned. I've learned that just because you have a job, you work a job for 20 years to give you a gold watch at the end, that don't make you free, brother. Being incarcerated for 10 years has allowed me to be the individual that I am by way of patience. I have the patience of a dead man. I understand people more, because when you're in an environment where you're around maybe 200 people on a daily basis, and you guys don't communicate, because communicating is feminine to a degree, then I study your nonverbal, and I study your smells, and just the simple things you do. I watch your routines, and if your routines change up, that means you've changed up. So if I was gonna ever act on anything, I can act on it now. But when I'm in a boardroom, or if I'm in a room full of individuals, what I've known in prison is that if you talk to somebody and you're always looking down, it's a sign of fear. So what I do is when I'm in a room, I make sure I look everybody in the eye, and those whom I think may be more fancier than me, I directly and I almost walk towards them just to conquer that not fear, but it's just, you're going to be the element in this room that I focus. I'm not focusing on the back wall. We're going to make eye contact. I'm going to nod. I'm going to follow your actions. You're going to follow my actions. I'm going to try you. You clap for yourself. You know what I mean? I want to take control of what's going on. And in order for me to move forward, move to where I want to be, I have to be in control. I've also learned that nothing is going to be instantaneous. Nothing. If you want something instant, then it's going to be a real short party. And there are a lot of laws that you can break. Laws which you can get money real fast. But there is an ending to that story. They pay people very well to lock you up. They have technology that is out of this world. So if you're going to break a law, please reconsider. So, and you know what I learned is that the energy that you put into breaking the law, you can take that same energy, those same elements, and you can do something legit. And guess what? When the police pull you over, you can keep all your money. You know what? When I have police friends now that have bought my books, that have recommended that I go to schools, I do parties for their children. And so being in that environment helped me to understand people more. You're just a person. I can even deal with a person who is supposedly racist, because you know what? You weren't born racist. This was something that was taught to you. So because you don't like the color of my skin, or you don't like where I come from, or my sexuality, or what have you, it's just a misunderstanding that you have. So you know what? It's gonna take time to teach you. And I'm not gonna try to preach to you, but throughout time, I hope you get exposed to enough elements that will fill your cup up. My message to you individuals who are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, I would say seek as much help as possible. Never turn down any assistance. Never not read a book. Never not expose yourself to a positive element if you can. Always question self. Always critique self, because when you critique self, then you can begin to work on self. I blame myself for everything, even those things that I'm not responsible for, because if I blame myself for world hunger, or if I blame myself for something that's going on in my community, then I can take an active stance, or I can have direct actions that could affect that element in a positive manner. My message to you is to utilize every resource that is at your disposal, create relationships, show individuals that you are ready for change. But before you do that, you must be okay with self. You must first want self change from within. And if that change from within, if you have a problem looking at God in the mirror, then you're gonna have difficulties being real with the people that you're interacting with. So I say, check yourself from the neck up, be real with yourself. And once you're real with yourself, then you can begin to be real with everybody else that you're interacting with, which will assist you in a transition that is a healthy one, not just for you and your family, but for your community as well.